Hey, welcome to X3, the show with one topic and three pundits. I'm your host, John C. Dvorak. I'm here with Andrew Eisner and Joe Engo to discuss the latest news coming out of the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Bureau Board. They had a report. They say that they don't think that texting on a cell phone in your car is necessarily a bad thing because everything you do with a cell phone or a mobile phone is a bad thing. They should all be banned. You know about this story.
Yeah, no cell phone. Well, it was motivated by this horrific crash in Missouri where this 19-year-old kid, they found that he had been texting, 11 times in the previous 11 minutes or something and slammed into a truck, and lots of people were killed. And so now they're saying, partly because of this, but texting, you take your eyes off the road.
Yeah, no, it's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing, but they want to apply it to talking on the phone.
Well, they want to apply it to having children in the car, dogs in the car, eating in the car,
changing the station on the radio.
Here's the problem the way I see it. And there's a column in PC Mag. You can check it out, PCMag.com. I discussed this from my perspective, which is I think this is an extremely lazy report done by the NTSB. They didn't really think it through what should be done if they really wanted to do something that was productive, because people are not going to stop talking. It's too late. The horse is out of the barn. Go.
There's an interesting thing to this, though. So you can't use Bluetooth devices unless it comes from the car manufacturer. If it's something if it's a hands-free set that comes with the car, you're allowed to use it under the new suggestions.
This is a classic scam. But I think what they should have done in the first place, not kind of ignoring that part of the story, is they should have had just a series of recommendations that included reverting back to the days of the car phone. You have to remember, mobile phones were originally car phones. They had a little antenna in the back.
There's a cord.
Well, no, they had them. If you could buy a car with it in there, all built in, and you had buttons you could push. You could push to talk. It would go through the stereo speakers. It was a lot safer. It was a lot clearer because you had an antenna outside instead of inside this metal container. And it was a much better experience. If they...
this way everybody in the car can hear your conversation.
Which is fine, which also cuts the conversation short, because you don't want to necessarily share the conversation with everybody, which is safer. If they had said, look, the car manufacturer should standardize an interface that all phones can hook to, and the phones, like they've now gone to the USB connector on the phones, right, that are pretty standardized. All the phones could just go into the slot, you slam it shut. The phone is now part of the stereo system. If the phone rings, you can't pick it up. You don't have to fumble around for it. You can't text because it's in this box. And then you can drive and do the hands-free, and you got the whole thing the old-fashioned way. You could make this sort of recommendation, but instead, like everything else in this country, let's pass a law against it, make everybody a felon, and try to throw them in jail while we're at it.
Yeah. It drives me nuts because when you buy a new car, you get all the nice controls for your stereo and whatnot on the steering wheel. But the problem is if you change out the stereo or you try to connect an iPod, suddenly it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Those controls should be standard, and I totally agree with you.
But was this recommended? No.
Well, I mean,
the only thing they recommend is make a law against it and throw more people in jail than fine people. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a little bit like drinking and driving. I mean, it's against the law, but people still do it. So even if they make it illegal, what they would have to do is have the phone manufacturers and the car manufacturers cooperate and say, whenever somebody's sitting in the driver's side and they're trying to use their phone, disable it or something. But then you have issues of like, well, what about the passenger? And
well, there's other issues too. Yeah, the passenger can pick up the phone. There's also emergency issues if you need an emergency call.
Well, they say they can bypass that.
Well, you can do this and you can do that, but if there was some standard interface that went back to the olden days, not that they were better, but they were in this case, that required the phone be harnessed someplace. I mean, as opposed to these jerry-rigged systems. Yeah. I don't think it'd be a problem because this wasn't an issue back when we had car phones.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't that many people who had them compared to now. But I mean, everybody has them now. But you know who I see using the phone the most these days? Cab drivers and cops.
Yeah,
who the hell are these cab drivers constantly talking to?
The cops.
I have not gotten in a cab in the past month that the cab driver was not on the phone.
Yeah, the cab drivers are on the phone all the time, and the cops are talking to their girlfriends. They're what they call beat wives. That's the key term. They're talking to their beat wives about what they're going to do after work. And the cab drivers, I don't know what they're talking about because I can't understand them because they're not speaking English.
But they're always on the phone. Like it baffles me. Who has that much time to talk to them?
I have no idea. It's a disaster waiting to happen. But this situation will not be resolved by laws when people are just used to using these phones. You've been watching X3.